I don't know if you remember this, Chef. 1992, at the first symposium dedicated to preserving old Southern recipes with Edna Lewis and Scott Peacock at the Middleton in Charleston,
Middleton Place.
Yeah, Middleton Place. You remember, right?
Was it 92 or 90?
Oh God! Now you really want me to take me back 2 more.
Yeah, no, it was at Middleton Place.
Chef, I'm trying to add 2 more years onto my life. I'm not trying to take it away.
Southern food were there.
3 days.
The intention was to bring together those people. It was hosted by the organization that Scott and Edna were developing, which eventually evolved into the Southern Food Alliance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll never forget. So I met you because I said we were there for 3 days, and I made sure I sat at your table every day. And one of the things that you said, and I have a book of quotes that I have a lot in there, and I went to my book of quotes last night and I looked up where was the quote that I got from Chef Joe Randall. And the one quote that you said, and I want us to talk a little bit about this, and because the second part of the series is called Everybody Cooks. And this is a feature honoring all of our Black chefs that sometimes are undervalued, and we want to make sure that we give homage to them. But one of the things you said Black chefs have been the backbone of food service, but largely invisible. You said that in 1986.
Can I jump in, Mike, just quickly? There's a funny story about my mother. She came from Macon, Georgia, and she migrated her way to the north to Philadelphia, matter of fact. And I used to ask her, how did you become such a good chef? Not chef, cook. She was a Black cook. But she would say, well, because I like to eat, of course, duh, because I like to eat. But it wasn't lost on her that coming from Macon, Georgia, from the South and up to the North, that when she cooked recipes and called me in begrudgingly to the kitchen, that she was trying to teach me, number one, Southern cooking. She was trying to keep that history going, but she was the kind of cook that would go to a restaurant and go, you know what this is? She would pick it apart in her mouth and go, you know what this is? This is a recipe from, and she would tell me kind of the origin of, she really wanted me to, and it was important for me to pass this down as well, to understand that the Southern cooking was being woven into American cuisine and to identify. So she really told me how to recognize it, so much so, even now, it's a running joke with the grandkids. They go, oh, when I go, you know what this is? This is nothing but a little of this and that, because my mother it was important to her that she teach us that this was Black cooking. This is Black cooking, and it's woven into dining and restaurants, and she would go home and replicate it. So I love, Chef Randall, your story of Southern cooking and how it's kind of been imagined elsewhere. But there are Southern cooks like my mother that really benefited from Black chefs like you that got that message out to say, hey, this is what Black chefs have contributed to American cuisine and American culture, and why it's so important as part of Black history. So
that was one of my interests when I started the Taste the Heritage Foundation, was to make sure that people understood the contribution that African Americans made to food in America.